Hey guys, I'm here with Steve Greer. He's a good friend of mine. We crossed each other for about 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And for the first or for the 40th conference, GMP International Conference, he in Athens at the University of Georgia in Atlanta. And Steve has a nice round experience into the pharma world, coming from a little bit more into the consumer side. And he was one of the speakers. I enjoyed very much his presentation. And I would like, Steve, for you to tell a little bit about yourself, what are you doing right now, and what you're forward looking into your career and your next steps. I think that's how we can start. Yep.
Well, great, Sam. It's great to be with you, and great to have the chance to connect with your audience as well.
Awesome.
I've been around the industry for 35 years now, which is hard to believe.
Wow.
In fact, I don't really want to admit that, but it has been in the pharma space as well as the consumer space, and in both in operations and in quality. And so I think that's been really helpful to have the opportunity to look at some of the challenges we face today from both that operational as well as quality perspective.
All right. So in the pharma world, I understand you're from a global company, right? ENG, right? I think you can say that.
It is, Procter & Gamble, absolutely.
And so, did you start pharma and you into consumer, or did you go into consumer and pharma? How was
very interesting. I actually started in consumer, and then but in our more drug side of our consumer business. And then we got into a situation actually down in the island of Puerto Rico, which I have a lot of passion for, and had a warning letter, unfortunately.
Oh, wow.
I'm sure that none of your audience can relate to that because everybody's on the A team. But through that,
I don't know about that.
through that opportunity, I got into our pharma business, and we were able to turn things around. And it really also started what is my current job, which is kind of focusing on building relationships with the pharma industry and with health agencies so that we can better understand each other and also strengthen our quality systems by learning from each other, sharing best practices, benchmarking. And so now I get to spend my job hanging out with cool people like you at conferences and having a chance to work with FDA directly.
Okay, interesting. So my question to you is like, coming from kind of big structure, big pharma, right? I imagine there is issues about culture. I guess it's the challenge of all of us at manage team and creating the culture and creating organizations, right? So coming from a big pharma, which is a global player, right? And then you had a U.S. kind of experience. It sounds like you went to Central America, the Caribbean, and had some experience there. How do you encourage and facilitate this one kind of culture within so many layers and so many divisions? How do you play a role? How do you see quality being a role into making this amalgam, if you will?
Yeah, well, that's a great question, and I think quality, and particularly quality leaders, can play a really key role in helping build a strong culture within their organizations. We have a ton of the tools, and sometimes we can become the master technician of our tools and stay within our box. And if it doesn't relate to us, then we don't get involved with it. And as I shared in my talk here just yesterday, quality can play much bigger than that. The Deming Institute talks about strategic quality, and that is all about really in the quality in the boardroom. So I think, unfortunately, sometimes as quality professionals, we limit ourselves, let's say, to the products we make, or perhaps even the development of those products.
Right.
But we fail to think about how we can play a role in helping change the culture across our organizations.
Interesting.
And unfortunately, I think too often we limit ourselves.
Right. Interesting that you mentioned that. I'm about halfway through it. A very good book about the power of habits. And the guy mentioned about the accident at the England metro. And he said there was a little fire in the staircase, and he says it's about five, how do you say, 5 levels, kind of staircase, and there was a little fire, and the guy from the booth just stepped out, got the thing was he put out the fire right there, and didn't report anybody, because and later on that cost about 30 lives. Wow. It was a huge, and the whole thing is about the authors like creating the culture, the habit of disseminating information and empowering people. And I think quality might play this role, like bringing people, like just because I reported to you doesn't mean I cannot say, hey, Dr. Greer, how about your hairnet? Did you sign when you walk in, right? Sometimes we create a culture. I think quality might help with that, don't you think? Unit helping with the culture.
I definitely think quality can help with that. I think unfortunately sometimes because of the limiting beliefs that we have, we place ourselves more in that governance role, in that policing role, which is very important.
Sure.
But unfortunately, if we stop there, we've really missed the opportunity we can have and the influence we can have to really change things. One of the things that I love to talk about is improving performance.
Sure.
And to me, that is all about leadership. And I think quality can play a huge role in that, in creating a no-blame culture.
Sure.
And really trying to empower people and engage people in the continual improvement journey. And one of the things that really comes down to is what happens when things go wrong. What happened when there are mistakes? When things are going great, we love everybody,
right.
It's great.
Yeah.
But when things go wrong, and they do, often quality comes in as the janitor. We come in to clean things up. Right. And I think we can play a much bigger role in trying to help our organizations think about, as Deming says, I call it the 96% rule.
Sure.
Because 96% of our issues are caused by our systems, 4% are caused by our people. And if we want to really improve performance, we've got to stop focusing on beating up people and disciplining people and retraining people and improve systems. And who's better at improving systems than quality professionals?
Quality. Yeah.
We have the tools in our toolkit to improve systems.
Right.
That's what we're good at.
Right.
We just need to apply those in a way that really helps engage our organization, builds trust, and then we can start to have the kind of culture you were talking about.
Sure. It's interesting because, and it has been really timely at this conference for me, because obviously all the companies I'm involved with, and in my own operations as well. And this book is just, and mentions the CEO of a Canadian mining company. Is not Canadian, US, is Alcoa. And when the stock value was going down, and they brought this new CEO on board, and the guy said, the author said, the normal speech of a new CEO is a couple of jokes about bringing the numbers up and lower the cost and everything. And the guy said in his public speaking, he said, hey, our goal is to be the safest mining, if you will, company in the world. And everybody was like, is this a joke? This is it?
Wow.
Yeah, and that was his goal, because he said, till we respect our staff and our people, this is going to be our goal. He mentioned about stock market and add value to the investors and everything. That was really interesting. And then so a lot of people pulled some of their stocks out of Alcoa. There was a little shift down, but within 5 years, the value of the company skyrocketed. And it was his way to bring. So it's like how if you improve quality or safety of your staff, the number of mistakes in the line, if you will, operations reduced, and with that he added value to the company. So sometimes, like we said, sometimes I feel like we reserve the quality people as a SWAT team. You know, have a problem, we call them up. You know, they come and get
Probably better call us a SWAT than a janitor.
Yeah. You know, call these people to solve. But if you create this culture, if you think about it, right, you can reduce the error, mistakes, and the number of batches and so on. Because and have a better product. So it's really good your approach. I enjoyed that. And I would like, if you will, read some of your questions, and I would like for you to elaborate some of the.
I'd be glad to. So here at the conference, I had the chance to talk about how can we create value through what we measure, through quality metrics. And we talked a little bit about the FDA programs that are going on, and in particular around the feedback program and site visit program. But then we really started to look at how can we build value within our organizations through what we focus on and what we measure. And so I told a story, I won't tell that story in its entirety here, about a diver, a scuba diver.
That's cool, that's a good one. Listen to that.
who was very experienced, but unfortunately also had a hobby, unfortunately I would say, had a hobby of taking photographs, and they were down on a dive, taking photographs at a very deep depth, and lost track of time, lost track of their air.
And you said when those guys dive, they have all kinds of
you've got computers, you've got all kinds of quality metrics that tells you how you're doing. But this diver was just so enthralled with the event and the opportunity that they just forgot about all that. And it kind of reminded me sometimes in our organizations when we're trying to launch a new product or we've got a new initiative to improve, and we get so caught up in that we fail to monitor and stay on top of those critical things that could be life or death. Mm-hmm. And in the case of this scuba diver, it almost became the end of their scuba diving.
You said his buddies were out of...
Yeah, his buddies ran low and they left. They didn't let him know. And so he was down there taking pictures, and then he finally realized that his time was short. As he started coming up, the conditions changed, the current started picking up, he couldn't see the boat, and by the time he got to the surface, the dive boat was a long ways away, to the point that they were about to call the Coast Guard, and he didn't know if he was going to make it, to be quite honest. Thankfully, the story turns out good.
Yes.
He was able to swim back to the boat, and in fact, I am that scuba diver. Learn some valuable lessons that as a leader, that I think apply to leadership, and that is, as a leader, we are responsible, and we get the culture that we create and that we allow. And part of how we shape that culture is by what we focus on. What do we measure? What do we reward? And so some of the questions I challenged the group here at the conference were, how well does your dashboard help your team stay focused on those things that matter most? Sometimes we can measure a lot of things, and they may even distract us, or they may even lead us down a bad path. I had the opportunity to work with one site where an organization was so focused on how the FDA judged their quality performance that was the overall measure of success. And unfortunately, the FDA gave them an A. They gave them a great passing score. I say unfortunately because they didn't deserve it. And so leadership quit putting money against that site in terms of improving their facilities. They reduced staff because they felt like, hey, the site is in great shape, so we can be more productive.
Right.
And so all these decisions started to be made, which eroded their quality system because they were focused on the wrong measure. And in the end, unfortunately, that site ended up closing. Because leadership lost sight of what was really most important. And so just like I experienced on that dive, we put our lives in danger, and we put our organizations in danger when we as leaders don't focus on the things that matter most.
Sure. And I don't know if I should ask this question or should we go to the next one, but I think I should, before I lose my question, I should ask you, So, you always hear the people saying in the presentation, right? Focus on the patient. Focus on the patient. Is this the right question? Is this how we should approach? Is it fair enough, or is it too far out? Double doing a swab into batch container. Is it the right question to ask right there on the floor? What do you mean? What do you mean about this right question, Steve? What is this?
Yeah. Well, I think it is critical that our people understand the why around their work. So often we can train people on procedures, we can train in the what and the how, and we forget to spend time focusing in on the why. And so, I do think it is really critical that our people understand how their daily activities, how their process control strategies, how the maintenance they perform, how the cleaning that they perform, not only help you get up and run or make more product, but also how those are tied into those things that are critical to our patients.
Sure.
So I really do believe that the why is so important. Now, I do also believe that leaders have to set their organizations up for success. And so just focusing in on the patient and not putting people in a position where they can do their work in an efficient and effective manner is never sufficient. As a leader, we've got to help people understand the why, but we also have to help them run successfully and operate successfully. And that's uniquely our role as leaders. And so as I was talking earlier, if we focus on people rather than focusing on systems, we're focusing on the 4%. We're trying to solve problems that occur by focusing on the short end of the stick.
Sure.
And yeah, I'm not going to say that there aren't some bad apples, right? I mean, there are. But the reality is, if you look at your deviations and your investigations that are tied to human error, how often are the CAPAs focused on retraining people, disciplining people, improving procedures? Typically, those are the three CAPAs that I see organizations focus on. Well, those are all kind of geared towards the 4% rather than the 96%, which is simplifying the work. I was talking with a gentleman here who's done some great work in this space, and one of the challenges they've been having is in cleaning. And so they have been working hard on improving their cleaning process, and he told me, and we've developed a 50-page cleaning batch record and an 85-page cleaning procedure. And we just looked at each other, we were like, have we simplified the work, or have we made it more difficult for people to do what they need to do? And I think the answer is pretty obvious. We have got to start using our tools to build the success of our organizations by focusing on those systems and simplifying things.
No, very good, very good. That's great, Steve. That's great. My next question is, I wanna take this, start from this question that I mentioned about leadership. Understanding you're in a new, you're expanding in new areas, right? And you're passionate about leadership and developing people. And how's that playing a role in who you are right now, and also forward looking? How is it coming?
Great. Well, I do have a real passion for leaders and helping leaders be successful. And so my wife and I lead a counseling center when I'm not at work with P&G, where we help people heal. People that have been through difficult and challenging situations. And through that journey, I've gotten exposed to the world of coaching. And coaching is all about helping people grow and helping people maximize their performance. And so as I have looked at the next journey of my life, I'm about to graduate from P&G. I call it graduation.
Hey, congratulations, man.
My goal is to really focus on leaders through keynote speaking, to really kind of bring some of these concepts to life, and also to work with leadership teams and individuals to really help them through challenging transitions. I'm working with a CEO and president of a bank right now and helping them work through the transition of roles.
Right.
It's gone great.
Wow.
They've really increased just the productivity and the performance of the organization.
Sure.
And it's the power of coaching. And so often we misunderstand what coaching is. We think of sports teams,
Right.
and having a sports coach. But a coach comes alongside a leader and helps them really kind of play to their strengths, understand their strengths, play to their strengths, and then really kind of build an organization around them that's all about possibility, not about limitation. So often we limit ourselves, just like we were talking about, with quality limiting itself as an organization.
Right.
Leaders often limit themselves by the beliefs that they have. And so where I love to come alongside leaders is to help them think differently about how they can be effective in their organization and really maximize performance.
That's really neat because I am in a journey of I want to improve myself, right? I really don't want to be the same guy I was yesterday. I want to
That's
be better.
great.
I want to be better today, and tomorrow I want to be better than I am today. I'm really trying to live the best version of myself every day. So it's very passionate to me. It's close to my heart too, what you're doing. Because there's tons of people I try to encourage, right? And my question to that, to you, is that sometime on our own you can go so far, right? Because with all the respect to my parents, I know they love me a lot. I'm glad you don't say these.
They're probably joining in. So you better say nice.
Yeah. But they have their own limitations. My teachers have their own limitations. My surroundings have their own limitations. So I'm a fruit of those other people's limitations, right? And so through books and through reading books and reading about other great leaders or about great leaders, I try to expand. So where do you see a coach for somebody that's like you said, you have an executive banking background. Somebody's already pretty much close to the top of their food chain. How can a coach come along and help this kind of person?
Yeah.
Feels like those guys are head out together.
Right. You think that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they've been very successful. But the folks at the top have some of the same challenges of those in the middle and at the lower levels of the organization, in that we all have strengths.
Sure.
But we also have struggles, every one of us. And sometimes our greatest strength can become our biggest struggle. Because when we get in times of stress, we lean into that strength too much. And that really creates a challenge for the organization. Let's take a leader who's very skilled at directing the organization.
Sure.
Okay? In a time of stress, they can overplay that strength to the point that they're dominating and they are dictating what should be done rather than empowering their organization. And where a coach really comes in with a leader at any level in the organization is they help bring awareness to that leader of where they have strengths, where they have struggles, and how can they maximize those strengths without them tilting into and becoming a struggle. And so it really is about creating awareness. It's helping people change some of their limiting beliefs and mindset. It also, and I find this, is that we tend to be wired either as very results oriented or relationship oriented. Just by nature. I think God kind of designed that in us. The challenge is, if we're going to be effective as a leader, we've got to have balanced leadership. I call it whole person leadership.
Sure.
We have to be able to focus on results and relationships. And where a coach comes in, because we all have blind spots, is to help that leader really look at, how can they strengthen areas where they're not as strong to become a more balanced leader.
Sure.
And typically, people at the top are very results oriented and struggle with relationships. That's not always the case. One of the leaders I'm working with right now is a master at relationships, but isn't as good in the results area. So yeah, I mean, so it is both. But to your question, a coach helps kind of shine a light on those blind spots, and then helps that leader develop strategies and tools to become more effective.
Neat. I like that. That's nice. And then you mentioned, it's really interesting, sometimes under pressure, the leader feels like, that strength can become a weakness, right? And like I heard once, like sometime if you have a hammer, you think everything is in there, right? So you get your strength is to pull everything. It's like
Exactly.
empowering people. Interesting.
Yeah, and a coach kind of helps you bring some more tools into the toolbox.
Sure.
And I think that, personally, a coach, I have used a coach now for a number of years as I've been training in coaching to learn that process. And it's amazing how just through 45 minutes or an hour with a coach, you can overcome some roadblocks and some things that maybe you've been wrestling with, and you just haven't been able to work through them. I think one of the things that's different about leaders at the top of organizations is that often they don't feel like there's a safe place to discuss some of their own fears, doubts, questions. Typically, they're viewed as the person with the answer, the person with the plan, and they feel pressure to always show up in control and with the vision. And so, who do they go to with the questions that they wrestle with, with the doubts that they have? And so, a coach can be kind of a safe relationship. In fact, ultimately it has to be a safe place for a leader to be real, to wrestle with those things that maybe they can't talk to others about. Right.
Now, when you're coaching somebody, I'm guessing that you're a metrics guy. There's some metrics, right? First of all, what would be those metrics? And are there a time frame? You walk in, kind of, walk through some steps, and then, hey, it was nice to work together. I think, is there such a thing in the relationship with the coach?
Yeah, absolutely. And coaching is about performance and results. So obviously, how do we measure that is important. And there can be a number of ways of looking at that return on investment, because executive coaching is not cheap, but when you compare the benefit to the cost, every example I know of, and I've personally experienced, the benefits far outweigh the cost. For instance, in working with the bank executives I'm working with right now, what value would you place on a successful transition of a president to a CEO as the CEO is retiring and taking on the chairman of the board? How critical would it be to the bank's performance to have that transition go smoothly? Where in the past, these two leaders have very different styles and in some cases were in conflict with each other. So what would the value be in creating a smooth transition so that that bank and the culture of that bank is set up for even greater success in the future?
Wow. Millions and millions and millions.
Incredible, right? Incredible. And so for a few $1,000s spent on coaching, we've been able to walk through over the past year a plan that has gone from a point of real conflict to now an incredible situation with that transition, really rocking. I mean, the bank is set up for growth. The leadership team has never been stronger. People are showing up more engaged and higher performing, all because these two leaders were gutsy enough to step back and take a hard look at themselves and their relationship. Because we spent time together, the three of us as well, as well as individually, to really wrestle through some of these challenges and deal with them in a way that set them up and the bank up for success.
Wow. Okay. So I guess before we'll wrap up here. So you're looking into, like you say, graduation PhD, right? So where can folks find you?
Yeah, would love to connect with you. I am on the web at genesiscoaching.com, so you can look me up there.
Yeah, I'll put a link there for you guys.
Yeah, absolutely, and you can connect with me on LinkedIn at Steve A. Greer. So Steve A like Apple, Greer, Greer at LinkedIn. Would love to connect with you, even if you just want to bounce some ideas around, have some thoughts, have some stories. Would love to hear from you in any way I can offer value.
Great. I guess you can shake hands, right? You can shake hands from the other.
Absolutely.
Hey Steve, thank you very much. Hey guys, this is it for our conversation today. I'm here from Athens at University of Georgia in Atlanta, and we just had my good friend here, Steve, with me, and I hope you really enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, please click the link below. You can follow him. He's a cool guy. I'm sure you're gonna be added with his value that he brings to all the organizations he passed through it. I would like to follow you and find out more about you along the way.
Awesome. Great to be with you.
Yeah. All right.
Take care.
Thank you. Yes.
Bye now.
Bye.